Hi, I'm Gray McCoy, Marketing Assistant at FlagandBanner.com. Today, I'd like to show you how to make a patriotic holiday wreath out of some ribbon that I've gotten from our showroom here at our Little Rock store. I'm using four different sizes of ribbon, and I'm using an 18-inch wreath base, as well as a whole bag of plastic zip ties, FlagandBanner.com branded zip ties. To start, I'm going to lay each ribbon on top of one another. In this case, I'm going to do the smallest on top, and I'm going to lay them all centrally because it's going to create the effect that I'm looking for. Next, I'm going to bunch the end up together, again with the smallest one kind of featured on top, so I've rolled it inward. And then I'm going to take one of my zip ties and attach it to my wreath base. With the zip tie going in the back. Make sure this first one is nice and tight so that your ribbon stays in place. There, you can see I've zip tied it in the back. Next, I'm going to start by making some loops. So I take my hand and I put it underneath the ribbon, all four of the ribbon, and I bring it over my hand and use my hand as the base of the loop so that I have a size to work off of. Then I gather all of the ribbon together at the base of my hand. Again, folding it so that it shows the way that I want. And then I zip tie it. I'm zip tying all of my ribbon to this second tier of wire because I think it's, again, going to create the effect that I'm looking for. Depending on how you're going to use the wreath, you can attach it more to the outer or the inside in case you're using it for something like a tablescape or hanging it on your front door or over your mantle. For these next few zip ties, I'm not going to tighten them all the way because I want them to be a little bit adjustable as I figure out how many loops I'm going to want in each section. So I'm still zip tying it into the back, but I'm not going to do it as tight as the first one just yet. And then I'm going to push it under. And there's your first loop. Now I'm going to continue that using my hand, placing my hand under the four pieces of ribbon, rolling it in, gathering it all at the base of my hand, and zip tying again. Again, not wanting it to be too tight because I do want it to be adjustable so that I can work out how many loops I'm going to have in each section of the wreath. As you can see, I've lined up all of my, well, you may not be able to see it off camera. I've lined up all of my ribbons so that they're in order and I can pull in a straight line and they all stay in place as I work through each loop. So now that I've gotten kind of through my first section, it looks like I'll probably be able to do about 4 zip-tied loops per section. And that's important because you want to make sure that you have an even distribution of ribbon. So once you can kind of figure out how much you can do per section, then you know you have something that you can always look for as you move through the wreath. So at this point, it just gets pretty repetitive. You're going to continue to do loops and zip ties all the way around, putting the appropriate number of zip-tied loops in each section, which is what I'm going to do. So I'm about halfway through. As you can see, I've been doing about 4 per section. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. And I've been trying really hard to keep them even. So you can see that they're all about the same height. And then I'm also keeping them loose so that I can adjust as needed. So as you can see, I'm getting to the end of my burlap ribbon and my wreath is not quite done yet. So I'm going to replace my roll. Pretty straightforward. Find the end. Luckily, this is the ribbon that's on the bottom of my design, so it'll be pretty easy to hide. You'll just want to tuck it in next to your other. You can try to bind it together if you want, but I don't think that'll be necessary. Overlay it with your other ribbon. And then work it into your design by holding it in place with your hand and continuing with your hand-sized loops. We're going to zip it in. There we go. I've finished all the loops in my wreath, so now while the ribbon is still attached, I'm going to flip it over and tighten all of my zip ties now that I know that all of my loops are where I want them to be. Good and tight. Tightened all my zip ties, and now I'm going to snip them. So now I have tightened and trimmed all of my zip ties so that there are no little tails on them anymore. So I'll flip it back over, and if you want to keep a tail on or a train on your wreath, then you can leave this ribbon on and cut the ends at an angle. What I'm going to do, because I'm not really interested in leaving a tail on, is trim it right here at the base of the wreath. Excess ribbon. So I've trimmed off the excess ribbon. I've got a little bit kind of left over here on the end. I'm just going to tuck that in. Once we finish with the final design, you shouldn't be able to see that at all. If you have a more fine pair of scissors, which I don't on the table right now, you could trim that off and hide it completely. So now that I've got the excess ribbon cut off, I get to start the fun part, which is fluffing out the ribbon. So I'm going to go one loop at a time, and separate each strand of ribbon, or each strand of ribbon. So I will maybe start at this first one and pull out the burlap, and then I'll pull out my stripe, and then I'll pull out the blue, and then I'll pull out the kind of patriotic patterned one here on top. And then you can stick your fingers in there and kind of fluff it up. And then you're going to want to go through with each one. And what I like to do is sort of alternate the way that I pull it so that you don't get the exact same pattern all the way around. Make it more interesting to look at. I'm going to go all the way around until every single one is pulled. I think I've gone all the way around. So now I can just do a little bit of quick fluffing. Okay, so I've got my wreath all put together, fluffed out. I think it looks pretty good. The different sizes of the ribbon have made it kind of more full and interestingly textured. And it looks pretty good like this, but I think what I'm gonna do is add a little bit extra to kind of zhuzh it up, give it a little bit more of a patriotic pop. So I've got a few other things. Classic flag store product, stick flag. So I'll incorporate some of these. And I've also got some nice red, white, and blue false flowers that I found in our showroom as well. So we're gonna see how this works in here and go from there. So we've finished fluffing the wreath and adding a little bit to it. I decided to forego the stick flags because the ribbons that we used were a little tight, so they weren't staying in real well. But I did use some of the false flowers, and we put together a nice kind of shabby ribbon to go with the wreath, made from the leftovers that I had. This one I think would be work best as a door hanger or going above a mantelpiece, since it's got its nice little tail. Another use that I've done for this is as a table centerpiece. I used the same technique with this one, just using a few different ribbon varieties. I used the burlap that I used in this first wreath as the base, and then picked out a couple of other ones that I thought kind of created a nice country shabby chic sort of effect. Again, I think this one would make a real nice table centerpiece or something like that. You can find all of our ribbon here in our showroom or online at FlagandBanner.com. For more tips or tutorials, be sure to subscribe, and thanks for watching. I hope to see you again soon.
If you found this video informative, please click the like button down below. To stay up to date with all of our upcoming videos, subscribe by clicking the circle icon in the middle of your screen. And as always, thank you for watching.